Welcome, everyone. How are you doing, Brent? How are things?
Good. Good. How are you?
Doing well. Yeah, it's been a lot of, it's been, a lot, but here we are. And
Here
I like
we
talking
are.
about business building. I feel like it's an important thing that is, it needs to happen if you want to, if the field of life coaching is going to make it. Under my perspective on all of this, I just want to start with this, is that it is useful to, you know, wrap your mind around what do you need to do to be successful for your coaching practice, not necessarily for you, but for the field, for the larger good of of humanity, because humanity needs this. Humanity needs life coaching. We need more empathy. We need more listening. We need more human connection like this. And yeah, I just want to start with that before we jump into Q and A's. Hopefully, that gets everyone into the receptive space.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's an important frame for today. And so I want to kick it off with sort of like this bigger picture question
Right.
of what inspired you to, I guess it's twofold, to start your own coaching practice, and then what inspired you to evolve that into CTEDU?
Right. Well, I mean, when I first heard of coaching, it was 2003. So this was the very beginning stages of coaching, just in general. And when it was an odd name, life coaching. I think the biggest misconception is that if you are a life coach, then somehow you are this expert in life. And although that is true to some degree, we have these superpowers. These life coach training does give you natural superpowers. Uh, or let's put it this way: it awakens the dormant superpowers within all of us.
I like that.
And those superpowers being, active empathetic listening, intuition, the ability to hear congruence when someone's talking. Like you can hear what they're saying. Does it feel like it's congruent with different aspects of of self? Frameworks of being able to look at challenges or situations through different perspectives, perspective shifting, increased awareness. Like there's a lot good that happens when, or not say good, there's a lot of useful activities, internal, external, that happen when you are engaged in life coach training. I experienced those firsthand when I was trained. I experienced them first as a client, being a practice client for people going through the training while Amois was going through the training. And then I that first coaching session for me, where I was the practice client, was incredibly influential. I Part of me wishes I could go back, and I don't know who that coach is or was. I don't even know how I would go back and find that coach. But it did have an impact on me, and I mean, even today, I still think about that coaching session. From my firsthand experience being a client, I knew this is something. This is something, and I was also teaching at the time, and it just seemed like the natural thing to bring all of this coaching ideas into the classroom, and to think and to dream, what if every teacher were trained as an academic life coach? It would be easy to implement, and the impact would be phenomenal. It would be astronomical in the sense of it's not that teachers would have to then have one-on-one sessions with students, but everything they do would be informed from a coaching perspective, which is from an empowerment perspective, which is happening anyway. Because as a society, this is becoming more and more known. There are more education institutions. Coaching and education is becoming more and more of a thing, and so it's not it's not like we're alone in this anymore. But we were some of the first people in this space, and people then contacted me. There was Gina from Boston and Rawan from Dubai. They both contacted me. This is 2008, within a couple of weeks of each other, asking me to train them because there weren't many people who were doing training with teenagers at the time. And I mean, I said yes. Let's try this out. And so I still remember this is when Moise and I were, we were just making it as in our own business. We were month to month for 2 years of living on hope and scholarship and just dreams. And we had lawn furniture as our table. We had our, those wicker tables that have the interweave type thing. And we had a 2-year-old running around as well. And so we were, new parents, new space, all of it. I had I had the school I was teaching Latin at. I know I'm jumping around in my story, but the school I was teaching Latin at, they offered me a full-time position to be the school's life coach. I turned it down. This is March 2008, about 6 months before the whole economy just tanks. And I turned down a full-time job, same salary as I was teaching. And the head of the school, Frank Phillips, he was a mentor of mine. He was influential in helping me understand that there is, in education, we do a pretty good job of delivering content knowledge, generally speaking. We do a terrible job at delivering emotional knowledge or emotional awareness and understanding internally. It's almost non-existent, except if a student is having problems. Then they go and they can get support. But what the space of academic life coaching is, that space of this is where you can go and talk through challenges without the assumption that there's something wrong with you or there's something broken. And that's been the stigma around therapy. That is shifting. So therapy, and the idea of the stigma around it, has shifted, I think, dramatically in the last handful of years, where it's and mental health awareness and all of this is shifting dramatically. I think in some part because of coaching. And the mental health industry recognizes it and realizes it and has normalized mental health, normalized seeing a therapist, normalized a lot of this, which is beneficial, which is great. This is all positive forward motion. At the time, it wasn't. I mean, coaching really was this. It was a field, and it continues to be a field where you can go and get help, find support, make sure you're covering your bases without that assumption that there's something broken. Students are especially teenagers, are especially attuned to, okay, if I'm working with this specialist, does that mean that there's something wrong with me? What label does that give me? Where am I at with it? So it just felt like arriving to a field that is this amazing field, like literally grass and brooks and waterfalls and rainbows and trees and blue, puffy, marshmallowy clouds and blue sky. Like it felt like getting into a field of just wow that no one else has been to, and trying to tell everyone, look, no, really, it's here. Like this is uncharted territory. Let's do this. And then you realize, whoa, there are people who have been here, and there is a community of people. There is research in positive psychology in this space. There are some movement in these things, and that just gets even more exciting. So that's really what I uncovered around 2008, 2009, 2010. We moved to Portland, living on hopes and dreams and my client base. And then everything just really started to tip around 2011, 2012. My client base went from, in 2009, I think I had maybe 25 clients, or 15, 25 clients. When I got to around 2010, 2011, that's when I was up in the 40s, and just, that was it. I was tapped out. I became really busy, both with my client base and I was training a couple classes. And then I had to make the decision: do I want to stay and become basically start a school to train people, do that full time, or to continue with my client base? There are times, I have to admit, when I look at all of the admin, all of the work and effort of running a school, that I dream about those simpler times when it was just me and my 40 clients and maybe 1 or 2 classes of coaches I was training. But I mean, now we're doing 8 classes every 2 months. I mean, it's a lot. And so yeah, that's been the journey from here to there. And I know what it takes to get up to 40 clients. It's not easy, but it's doable. And you have to go all in, and to some certain degree, you have to make those tough phone calls and get a certain amount of resilience around all of it. Being in that space.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm, listening to you, there's so many really interesting things that you had mentioned, but I'm thinking, for our new coaches, especially who maybe they have a handful of clients, but they just can't seem to get to that next level. What would you say for you was the tipping point between a handful of clients to a steady stream of clients? And then again, did you have experience a second tipping point from that 20 clients to 40 clients?
Yeah, those are great questions. The first thing that I did was I found a way to sustainably give workshops. I found my audience of people, like audiences of people. I Now that we're mostly moving, like let's say that all in-person things are off the table, which isn't necessarily true, but let's say that's there. What people who are building a business have to do right now is you have to find ways to find out where your audience hangs out. Where are they? I went to a lot of BNI meetings. I think it was called the Tip. There were a couple organizations where you can go and pitch for 30 seconds, do your 30-second pitch type things. And I would go, and I was the unicorn because no one else did coaching with teenagers. So I was competing with nobody. It wasn't like I was a realtor or a web designer who the other realtors and web designers would look at you like, if you walked into the room. So I could go into these places, do my thing, connect with people. From there, I learned that I really wasn't trying to get clients. And what I was mostly trying to do was to let people know that I was available to give this workshop that provided this value to the people who would attend the workshop. That was a big shift. And that was a hard one because Moise and I, we were month to month for years. Like we were like living on just hopes and prayers and, my having to hustle. And there was a sweet spot between there is pressure to do the work. There is pressure to get out there and do it. And you have to. I had to make the phone calls. I had to get up at 5:00, get it there by 6, 5:55, and get ready to go by 6 and give my talk and then leave and then do all the other activities that I need to do during that day, and then I meet my handful of clients in the afternoon, hopefully get more clients. Wow, right? There's an element of hustle, but there can also be too much pressure where if it feels like you're too hungry and you really are not, it's hard. The sacrifices are a lot. There's a sweet spot between being just hungry enough where you have to make the hard phone calls. You have to pick up the phone and follow up with people. You don't necessarily feel like it. You're probably going to get more no's than yeses. That's hard, but it takes that, okay, like you have to do this for the mission. You have to do this for you. You have to do this for your family. You have to do this for, find those reasons and then the structures to make yourself follow through on them. That is not easy. And I think a lot of times people assume that their own internal world will somehow manage itself, but you have to find ways. I had to find ways to keep at it, to stay positive, to remind myself, this is where I want to go. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing this for. Those reminders, those structures and systems to keep you productive in the face of substantial rejection sometimes is not fun. So that was finding a way to shift thinking away from I need to enroll clients to I need to establish workshops, or I need to connect with people who are also in this space. When I went to those meetings and I really shifted to workshops, interestingly, I would connect with people and network, and then the knowledge I got from networking with these people was so valuable. One thing I'd love to share is this idea of what they called sunshine networking, which is, it's not like when you're networking with someone. And I was a high school Latin teacher. I had no formal business education. I didn't know any of this stuff. I went straight from, I was reading like the Iliad and the Odyssey, Greek. I was reading Greek in college. Like I have, like, it's so silly. Like I think, okay, so I was studying Greek and Latin in college. I teach Latin, and then all of a sudden I find life coaching, and I realize, okay, this is going to change the world. Now what do I do? I need all this, so it's like basically business training 101 from zero. People we bring into the team now, they have more business experience than I do, and I've been doing this for 15 years. So it's like because they've been in other organizations that are larger, and they know, okay, this is best practice. This is how you need to run team meetings. This is all of that's learned on the fly. Fine. So, but in this space, networking, my definition of it is the giving and receiving of information. It's asking people, what is it you really need? What is the most helpful thing that you are looking for? And then letting others know, this is the most helpful thing that I'm looking for. And it's not getting clients. That's not the most helpful thing. What you are after is a system, a structure that will consistently get you clients. And that structure and system is basically what I found for myself was providing workshops. The idea of sunshine networking is you have your target audience in the middle, that's the sun, and then all the rays are other people who don't necessarily directly compete with you, but have the same target audience. That's the idea of sunshine networking. So those are the people you connect with. You don't connect with your target audience. You connect with the people connected to your target audience. For me, when I was working with teenagers, the very best group of people for me to connect with was senior portrait photographers. The best. They work with a lot of people. They work in a space of they're working one-on-one. People open up when they're doing headshots, when they're getting their pictures taken. And I worked with one parent, worked with her daughter. Her daughter, she's had a great year when I was working with her, and that led to another year. And then she got to her ideal school, and her mom referred 9 people in 1 month to my practice, and that tipped it. And then another parent she was friends with another parent, and then she referred 5 people. It just was like a thing. It just became the cool thing to do. And once that happened, I was telling people I don't have space. And if you really want to see something go, you tell people, I'm sorry, I don't have space, but I can get you on the waiting list. Oh my goodness, that was bananas. And that took a while. I mean, it took a while for me to get there. I'd say about 2012. That's when, 2012, 2013, that's when it really was busy. And then 2014, because I had Dubai on my front page on the website, I was invited to speak at the first conference in Dubai in 2014 because I just came up on web searches in Dubai because of that reason, because I had Boston to Dubai on my website. And that was another big tipping point in just street cred. It was, and then I met Marshall Goldsmith there, who was an executive coach, and got connected with him. And he's just spot on with so many things that he talks about. He says one of the things that new coaches, in his experience as a coach, is that people are hesitant to ask for help, and it's okay to ask for help. And that's basically what networking is. It's, again, asking for help. Asking people, what I'm really after is providing this workshop to this target audience to give this benefit. Every workshop I gave, no matter what, it always felt like I got at least 1 client from it. Sometimes 2, no matter the size, the length, it didn't matter. Usually 1.
That's really cool. So it seems like a lot of coaches will benefit from hearing too, and it's actually, I think, in one of the blogs we're writing soon about, what else do coaches do that helps them maintain their business? So knowing that workshops are an option, or, for me, like I write for other coaches for their blogs. So there's opportunities for coaches who are multi-talented, speaking engagements, as you mentioned before. These are things that coaches get into. So when we're thinking about, having a coaching business, there are some of the coaches that come through our program who sometimes are on the fence. Do they want to full out start a coaching business, or do they want to sort of do this more on the side? So I'm curious, in your experience, like what are the benefits and drawbacks of having a coaching business?
The benefits of running your own thing are, if it's going well, are enormous. Like, it's fun. Um, the drawback is that you have to find ways to deal with the energy of risk and uncertainty. If you can embrace that energy and uncertainty and know it's going to be a roller coaster, there will be ups and downs. There's a lot that you have to really get to. I feel like I'm built for it. Some ways, other ways I'm not. Um, that's the hard part. If that's the hard part. I used to have a friend. He lived in D.C. His name is Smitty, and he goes through, and we used to talk a lot, um, and we would have mutual, what do we call them, like mutual envy. I don't know. Like he went to Harvard Law School. He got a job at a law firm, set salary, and he's just doing really well. And had my own business. I would have my own client base. I was all independent. And then we would chat, and he would express a desire to be independent and have all this freedom. And I would say, look, it looks glamorous, but it's a ton of work. And it's not just external work, but you have to be okay with the unknown of, are you going to get a paycheck next month or not? And I would be envious of his position, where he was established, he was making a good salary, he was doing something interesting, but he was, it just was like a mutual like sharing of, yes, it looks fun, all the fun stuff looks fun, but there's usually an exaggeration of that fun stuff and a minimization of all of the hard work and effort and anxiety that goes into entrepreneurship. So I feel like you have to find a place of, all right, if you want to get coach trained, you want to work as a coach, but entrepreneurship isn't exactly the funnest thing, then there are more and more places that are hiring in-house coaches. You might not make as much per hour, but you'll make a consistent amount per hour. And that consistency is really valuable. So I think there are elements of, okay, how do I need to show up? If I am going to get hired as a coach, then I need to think of it more like, think maybe half of what you might make per hour on working in an organization. However, if you're working for yourself, you're not really getting paid for every hour you're working. So a lot of times it does it does feel like it does equal out. Yeah.
It sounds like what you're saying is having a sense of self-awareness, which you get from a coaching program, is really important to figuring out if a business is right for you or not, because you'll be able to hopefully explore whether or not that entrepreneurial roller coaster is something that you'll be able to manage when you get there.
Right. And working part-time is great for that, because you get the benefit of both in some ways. And I think a lot of people do that. I mean, I did. I developed my coaching practice while I was teaching. So I had about a 3-4 year incubation period where I still worked full-time as a teacher, and then worked with students afterward as a coach. That was great, because I was working with students. They were free after school anyway, so it wasn't like I was going to meet with them during school hours. But yeah, so I had a 4-year sort of shift. I've seen that be very successful for people, but I've also seen people just go full time, and or they'll have something where, let's say they're working as a consultant in a field, and then they also add coaching to their packages of what they offer. I've seen that work as well.
Yeah. So I know we have a couple minutes left, and we do have a business launcher course that we run here at CTEDU starting on the 25th of February. So I'm curious, you started doing coach training. What inspired the business builder course? and what are some of the benefits people get from that course?
Yeah, I mean, the business, I think if people who are launching a business or people who are bringing in a coaching program into their organization, the mindset is similar, where it's helpful to think like an entrepreneur, and it's helpful to put the pressure on yourself to pitch coaching in a way that is understandable. People like what they understand. It's enticing. People like to buy things, but they don't like being sold to. They want to know your story. They want to know when their story is most compelling. What are the most compelling aspects of their story? There are a lot of things that I had to learn that I feel like I did naturally well from a sales or marketing standpoint. Mostly because I just taught for a while, and if you're a high school teacher, you're basically for 2 or 3 at least 3 hours, 5 hours a day, you're telling stories, you're talking, you're having to entertain middle school and high school students, especially if you're teaching them Latin, which they all have to choose to take. So I felt like I had to put on a pretty serious sales presentation to get high school students to get interested in Latin. All of that gets translated over to coaching, right? And then, again, there's this pressure to have to tell stories that make sense to people. What the business launcher is, in my mind, is it's a structure to help hold you accountable, to give you ideas and have a feedback forum in place that okay, I'm going to meet every other week, and I'm going to have this is my action step for these 2 weeks. And it's a cost-effective way to have that structure. These are all things that you can find books, you can do this all yourself. It's not like there are some things in here that will save you time. It's just all collected for you, and all the insights are right there, and week by week you go through. But it saves you time and gives you a structure. And with that saved time and structure, you will more than get your money back in terms of clients that you're working with. If you do the work, if you follow through and do the work anyway, that you would normally have to do. I think it saves about a year. I think.
Wow.
If I were to quantify how much time, it took me about 2 or 3 years to figure all of this out. And then by the time I wanted to quit teaching, go full time into coaching, Frank said, "Nope, you cannot. I need you 1 more year, because it's not like we can find Latin teachers don't grow on trees in Southern Oregon. So we need another year to find somebody." And they did. I gave them another year, which I'm glad, because that was our first daughter's first year of life, and so I could enjoy that without the whole pressure of launching a whole new thing. And it just gave me another year to refine my marketing, my messaging, workshops, figure out, okay, wow, I really do need to give these workshops. And so when we moved to Portland, which is about a 5-hour drive away, it was full time, and it was all we were in it. I had a structure in place. I had a client base of 15 in Southern Oregon. I used to take the red eye Greyhound bus overnight down to Southern Oregon, meet my 15 clients over a space of 2 or 3 days, and take the bus back. I did that twice a month. I did that for about a year. That's how much hustle that I had. I remember when I brought that down to once a month, it just felt amazing. I was like, and then when I didn't have to do it maybe every other month, it felt even better. And then when I had a client base in Portland, and I eventually let the client base in Southern Oregon go, I look at it now and think, I don't know if I could do that again. That was woo. But I would come back. I'd come back, and over I don't know how familiar you are with Portland geography, but there's this bridge that goes over the river, the Umpqua Bridge. And I'd come back, and I remember a couple of times I'd be listening to my vision recording on repeat for 5 hours. I'd be listening to this thing on repeat. Just get in my head again and again and again. And it's basically music with myself talking about the goals that I have, dreams and things like this, where I want to be. And I remember coming back from a particularly good couple of days in Southern Oregon, where I really felt like I was changing the world. That this is real. The impact on these students' lives is unbelievably. It's the coolest thing ever. These conversations, wow. and crossing that bridge, going back into Portland and thinking, this is what I've dreamt of doing. This is the life that I've dreamt of doing, getting paid for conversations that I know are having a huge impact on the lives of young people. That was, I was dreaming. And now I look at this organization, I think we're just getting started. Like this is changing so many lives. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we have decades ahead of us to enjoy this. So, yeah, I know Britt, when we talked about this, we're going to talk all about the Biz Launcher. Yes. But if you're thinking about it, Biz Launcher is great if you want the structure. And, basically I put everything into it that I did to be successful. I just tried to be as generous as I could, realizing that you never can be too generous. You can never stuff more stuff into it. It's if you're looking for, it's for people who are looking for a structure of accountability along with nuggets of insight that are interesting, that keep you going. It's basically then the Biz Launcher is for you. Yeah. How you doing, Brett? I'm just so curious. I know we designed this, and I know like in this space of business building, here we are. I'm so curious. I know we have to finish up here, but listening to all of this, what are your main thoughts, takeaways? Yeah.
I feel like the phrase respect the hustle is what comes to mind for me. That I had to like sum up this whole conversation. It's even if you don't want to start your own business, there is still a hustle involved in being a successful coach and making sure that your clients are getting to where they want to get to, and being that sort of guiding light for them. And so I feel like I love the element of like, and I think that for me, I always connect resilience to that feeling of hustle, that knowing that there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be things, again, whether you have your own business or not, that are going to push you and test you and make you question and doubt. And how do you push past that and rise above that? And it's almost like what you were just talking about with your vision recording, like what is your communication with yourself about yourself that allows you to hustle and stay resilient? I think that's the biggest takeaway that I have from hearing all of that, what we discussed today.
Yeah, that's right on. That's right on. Yeah, that vision you have for yourself has to be so strong that it's more powerful than the temporary present circumstances. And there's an element of being with the present circumstances and feeling gratitude even for hard things. I feel like that's when, and this is where I feel like the journey of entrepreneurship is a journey of personal growth, that it's not for everybody, but if it's for you, you will learn more about yourself than you ever have imagined. And it's worth it. It's worth it. And if you are hired and if you are working with an organization, adopting this mindset, you will make yourself an invaluable part of an organization. Like this is what I feel like we at Training EDU talk, we try to foster this with our team, is like, yes, it's this proactive thinking. You have freedom. You have this ability to go out and do these, like, let's roll up our sleeves and let's change the world here. Let's get this done. It's that proactive thinking that it's going to change the world. So here we are. Thank you.
Love it.
Super fun.
This is always fun.
What an amazing space. Thank you, community, for being here, watching, listening, letting me riff on something I care a lot about. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I could go into like, things on, what makes good, useful website stuff, not useful website stuff. I feel like I have more, like I want to say, but yeah, good. I'll see you next week. Thank you, Britt. Thank you, community. See you soon.